All right, grade 8s, here's the surface area of the cylinder lesson that we talked about today. And we did a lot of work when we built the one out of paper and took it apart just so you could see all the nuances of it. But basically, here's what we have. So there's a cylinder in front of us with a radius of 5 meters and a height of 15 meters. And the first thing we have to do is turn this into a net. And we turn it into a net so we're understanding all of the different shapes that are inside or that are a part of this three-dimensional shape. So if we do a net of a cylinder, and when we took it apart today, that's what it looks like. The next thing that's really important is that you label the stuff that you know. So we know that this was 5 meters, and we know that this height here was 15 meters. Of course, this one here, the circles are both the same. They'll be 5 as well. I'm not going to put the units just to save some space. Now, if we are going to do surface area, we can easily do the circles because we know the formula for area of a circle, but we're short one measurement for the rectangle. The measurement we're short is we don't know the distance from here to here, and that's what we spent 15 or 20 minutes today making sure we understood that that was the one that we didn't know, but because the circle is a part of that shape, we actually determined that the circumference of the circle is the same distance. So this distance right around here is the same distance as that. That this circle here is the same distance, the width of that rectangle. So our very first step, because we want to finish off our net, is to do the circumference of a circle. And we put our formula, which is pi d, and we know pi is 3.14. Write the number correctly. I like putting it in brackets to show that I've substituted a value. My next thing is I'm looking at my diagram and I see I have a radius of 5, but I know I need a diameter. We know that a diameter is simply twice a radius. So instead of putting 5 in there for the diameter, I will put 10. There is no use running for a calculator because I'm multiplying by a base 10 number. All I have to do is add one, or I have to move it one spot over to the right. We have to go one place value. So 3.14 will actually be 31.4, and I think I'm using meters. So what I've determined now is that this distance right here is 31.4, and you have to label it on your diagram for full marks. Well, now that I know what my shape is, and now I know my circles and my rectangle, I can go and start working on this. I could do the rectangle, the circle first, but I'm going to do the circle. So my area of a circle, I always start with my formula. It's a little bit different than diameter because it's pi r squared. I substitute the values I know, which is 3.14. Always forget that one for some reason. And my radius is 5. I'm going to square it. And that equals 3.14 times 25. And when I do that math, I will get 78.5. And that's actually meters squared. And what I've done now is I have figured out what one of the circles is. Maybe that looked at in meters. Beautiful. I have two circles, however, so I can just simply go multiply this whole thing by 2. And if I multiply that by 2, I will get an answer of 157 meters squared. And that is the area of my two circles. I'm not done because now I have to do the area of a rectangle. The formula for area of a rectangle is length times width, as we were discussing, as we practiced. The length of that is 15. Doesn't really matter which way you consider the length or the width. And 31.4. If I was to multiply those two together, I arrive at 47. No, I don't. I arrive at 471. Really have to start putting on my glasses when I do this. Anyhow, 471 meters squared. And that is now that rectangle. Of course, we did both circles, so I can put a check mark off on that. We have all our information. We're not quite done. We're close to being done, but we're not quite done yet because we have to add the two areas together. It's total surface area of both of those things. So I will have to add in, let me bring them back so you can see them. I will have to add in, so surface area equals 157 plus 471. And I come out at 628 meters squared. That is my total surface area for the cylinder. All right, so now I'm going to do one more just to make sure we have the concept. And we didn't get to do much practice today. We did get to do a few, but we'll do one more. I'll make my cylinder fairly easy again. I'll make it, maybe I'll make it 50 this time, but I'll give it a diameter. And I'll make this 60 in height. I'll make them all centimeters. Not that that matters. The first step is to draw the net, just so that we can check off stuff as we complete it. So my net of a cylinder will have a rectangle and two squares. I add in what I know. That'll be 50. If I want to kind of be tricky, I can also just put that the radius on the bottom is 25. It's the same circle. One's the diameter, one's the radius. And I know the height of the cylinder is 60, so I know the width of the rectangle will be 60. Now that I know that, my first thing is to figure out what the length of this one here is, so we can complete our drawing and start our work. Remember that we spent all that time today to make sure that we know that the width or the length of that rectangle is the circumference of the circle that wraps around it. So we are going to use circumference of a circle. Remembering our formula is pi d. It's fortunate that I had the diameter, so it's 3.14 times 50. And that one equals out to me, let me just try to do this one here, 3.14 times 50 is 157 meters. Centimeters. Not that it matters in this case. Now that I have that, I can place that on my drawing, my net, and it's completed. Once my drawing is completed, I can start doing my shapes. So let's start with area of a circle. Area of a circle, the formula is pi times radius squared equals 3.14 times the radius. I did it right here, the radius, so we can understand is 25 squared. Of course, it's going to give us a great big number. It's 3.14 times, let me see this here, 3.14 times 625. It's okay, big numbers don't scare us. And multiply that by 3.14, and we come out with 1,962.5 centimeters squared. That is, however, just one of the circles. That's just this one here. If I want to get both of them, I have to multiply that answer by 2. My total answer then, if I multiply that by 2, would be 3,925 centimeters squared. Circle it, because that's kind of one of the final answers I need. And now I have both of my circles done. The only area I haven't done yet is the area of the rectangle. As always, start with our formula. Area of a rectangle equals length times width. We fill in the parts that we know from our diagram, and it's 60 and 157. All right, plug those numbers into our calculator. Of course, that one was way wrong. 60 times 157 equals 9,420. Those are centimeters squared. And if we go back to our diagram, I wish I could have it all in one spot. We have now completed this one. And in order to do total surface area, all we have to do now is add the three shapes together. So our final step, surface area equals 3,925, which is the two circles. And we're going to add it to 9,420, which is the rectangle. And adding those two together, 3,925 plus 9,420 is 13,345 centimeters. we'll get them with practice. And on Monday, we're actually going to go backwards a little bit and do the rectangular prisms and triangular prisms as well. But that was grade 7 material, so I don't expect too much problem with that. Same steps. You draw your net first, you label all your shapes, you do your areas, you add them together. Have a great weekend.